Happy Halloween everyone, I'm ThatGuyMatt and welcome back to the channel. With the release of my Halloween franchise review and of course the ranking of all films, I figured it was appropriate to cap it all off and do the actual Michael Myers scene in the films. Yes, I'm going to be ranking pretty much all the performances of Michael Myers. Now there's going to be one major caveat to this, and I know that some people have pointed out, but yes, there will be a lot of Michael Myers that will be omitted from this list. Simply put, there are just too many to the list. So for the time being, and for the purposes of this ranking, I will be strictly ranking the major on-screen performances of Michael Myers. So that means the original all the way to Halloween Ends. I'll throw in a couple that I feel like are worthy of an honorable mention, but for the most part, it will just be the main on-screen Myers performances, the people who play the character for a majority of the film. If that exonerates this list or makes it incomplete, I don't really care. It's my channel. I'm going to do what I want. So, yeah. Of course, if you guys agree with my ranking, or if you disagree, let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. This will be very fun, so let's go ahead and get into it. Starting off with number 9. What is my least favorite Michael Myers portrayal? Well, it's unfortunate to tie him to this film, but a lot of it has to do with the film that I just don't simply like, and that actually is going to be Don Shanks from Halloween 5. It comes down to a couple of different things why I think that he's my least favorite Michael Myers. For one, the mask in this movie just doesn't look that great. It looks like too misshapen, and the neck is like too stretched out. I don't like the look of Michael Myers in this movie. It just doesn't look that good to me. Now, a big reason for this, of course, is that I just simply don't like Halloween 5, and I admit that it's a little bit biased, but ultimately Don Shanks, like his look and his mannerisms and his demeanor, it just kind of feels like it was derivative of other actors, like I said, that did it better. So yeah, Don Shanks is going to be number 9. Number 8 is going to be coming at just a razor-thin margin higher than that one, is going to be Brad Loree from Halloween Resurrection. And a big reason why I put him over Don Shanks is, for one, for all intents and purposes, at least they actually got a decent looking mask in this movie. Now, it's not perfect. I think the mask actually looks a lot better when it's hidden in the shadows and it's kind of covered in darkness, because when it's brought in broad daylight or like brought out in brightness, it just kind of looks a bit funny. I think that the eyebrows are a bit too defined, and I just don't really care for that too much myself personally. Of course, another big reason why I don't like this actual performance and the look itself is that ultimately this movie just turns Michael into a joke, which is a big reason why I think that the actual like performance, not necessarily the actor's fault, it's more just like the script writing and how they just kind of made Michael a joke in this movie, and that's why I don't really think that this is a portrayal that holds up in high regard. Like I said, the look itself is not half bad. It's just, unfortunately, he was put into a shitty Halloween film. So, Brad Loree, I mean no disrespect to you. I think you did the best you could, but unfortunately, Brad Loree is going to be at my number 8 choice. Number 7 is going to be Chris Durand, the guy who played Michael Myers in Halloween H20. And for the most part, I think he actually does do a pretty good Michael Myers, actually. I think that he has that walk, he has that look. You know, he's not as stiff, you know, he kind of follows a lot of what Nick Castle did. He's more intimidating, and he's also pretty, like, severe in his mannerisms, and he also is intimidating. But the reason why I don't really like it as much as some of the other picks, unfortunately, is the mask. The mask is what really brings this down. Performance-wise, it's pretty good. The mask itself and the plethora of masks that you see throughout H20 is what makes this, unfortunately, not that great. The eyes are like peeping out of his mask, like they're sticking out of his mask, and I don't like that. I think it's distracting because the whole point of Michael Myers is that he's a husk of a man and you're not supposed to be able to see into his eyes. In fact, seeing into his eyes not only makes him look goofy, but to me, it actually takes away from the fear of Michael Myers. There was a mask that they did showcase in the very beginning of this movie that was supposed to be a duplicate of the mask scene in Curse of Michael Myers, which I actually thought looked pretty good. And if they had used a better mask in this movie would actually probably go up a star or 2 alone for that reason. It's just that, like I said, the performance is pretty good. The actual just mask itself is what really brings it down, and actually, unfortunately, just makes it not that great in my opinion. Number 6 might be a bit controversial for some, but I just have to be honest and say that it's going to be Tyler Mane, the guy who played Michael Myers in Halloween 1 and 2, directed by Rob Zombie. Now, yes, I know that some people might be thinking like, what, Tyler Mane is like this low? I'm like, let me explain why. The reason why I'm putting him this low is not actually because of his portrayal. I actually think that Tyler Mane is a very intimidating Michael Myers, and he did a damn good job in his role. He did what he was supposed to do, and he's super tall, he's super intimidating. He's basically like Leatherface combined with Jason Voorhees, just constantly bursting through walls like the Kool-Aid guy. It's really, really intimidating. And like I said, of all the Michael Myers in this list, he's the one that I would want to encounter the least. That's how intimidating he is. The reason why I list him this low in the list is primarily because of the films that he's in, and that they're kind of lower on the list for me. And I think that they're kind of a jumbled mess. I think that the utilization of Michael Myers in his films is a mixed bag overall. And I think that even the explanation of, like, you know, saying that he came from a poor family and like how like he just kind of, you know, turned evil as a result of it. I know that some people might say it's a more realistic take, but I am taking into account like the actual utilization of the actors and the Myers in this film. So that's why it lands itself just a smidge lower. I find his performance just to be a bit too much for me. I like when my Michael Myers is kind of more in the dark and more in the shadows, and almost is kind of like he's like slowly creeping through the night, like the Nick Castle version in Halloween. I'm more towards like that kind of thing, but not a bad Michael Myers performance. In fact, from here on out, these actually are Michael Myers performances that I really do enjoy. So me putting him in number 6, actually, in my opinion, is not that bad. I still like him. I just think that his performance was just a bit too much for me, and I think that I wish that it was just toned down just a little bit, because it's a bit much for me. All right, here we are, top 5. So number 5 for me is going to be Dick Warlock, the guy who played Michael Myers in Halloween 2. This, for me, actually is a pretty good Michael Myers. In fact, I would actually say he's just about as close to Nick Castle as you could get in the original film. He has the look, for the most part, even though the mask is a bit misshapen. It just, you know, fits his face a bit wider because of the actor. He has that kind of like looming in the shadow presence. He's not super in your face. He definitely does try and take out his victims a bit more methodically and whatnot, and he's like kept in the shadows for the most part of the movie. My biggest problem with his performance, actually, believe it or not, is just that his walk is stiff. I don't know what it is. I mean, maybe this is just Dick Warlock's interpretation, but in my opinion, when I see him walking, it just looks as if he has like a stick up his ass or something. I don't know what it is, but his walk is just very robotic. And for some people, they might actually say that that adds to the character. But that being said, still in number 5. So for all intents and purposes, Dick Warlock did a fantastic job. And he definitely is one of the top Michael Myers. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if people put him in the top 3 or top 4. Yeah, he's very good. So for right now, Dick Warlock will be at my number 5. Number 4 is going to be George P. Wilbur, the guy who played Michael Myers in Halloween 4, as well as Halloween: The Curse of Michael Myers. I think that George P. Wilbur is a very underrated Michael Myers. He does the character pretty good. The biggest problem I have with him, unfortunately, is that the Part 4 mask doesn't look that great. In fact, again, going back to H20, if they actually went back in all that time and gave Michael a better looking mask, I think that H4 would go up a star or 2 just for that reason alone. It's so distracting to look at that mask. I don't know. It has the eyes right. Like, obviously, like, they're just blank. But the problem is that his mask in H4 looks too pale. And I think even his shoulders are a bit too broad up. It's almost like he's wearing hockey pads or something. I don't know. He has that walk. He has that tall stature. He has the intimidation factor, especially in Curse of Michael Myers. And I think that the mask in Curse of Michael Myers alone is fantastic. I think it was one of the best masks, you know, at least when I was going through the series for the first time. It was one of the better looking masks since the original, and Part 2 for that matter. So yeah, George P. Wilbur, I think he actually is a very good Michael Myers. Unfortunately, it's just that some of the decisions they made with the mask, and of course the movie being Part 6 and the utilization of Michael Myers in that movie is just kind of what brings it down. But hey, still top 5, so definitely did something right. So for right now, George P. Wilbur will be number 4. Number 3, this is going to be one that actually is not the main Myers of the movie, but I loved this guy's performance of the character so much that it was actually tough for me not to include him in this list somehow. I know this might be cheating because he technically didn't play the character throughout the entire movie. He technically only played the character for like 10-15 minutes, but that being said, I have to include Airon Armstrong as my number 3. He's the guy who played Michael Myers during the 1978 flashback in Halloween Kills, and this is just so good. Like, this for me is like striking that perfect balance between like the Nick Castle version of Michael Myers from Halloween 1, and of course you have James Jude Courtney as Michael Myers, and it's just so good. The look is fantastic, his stature, the clothes, the mask is fantastic, his intimidation and how he grabs the officer and is like strangling him. It's very good. I said during my Halloween Kills review that if they ever were to make another Halloween film like that, I would like there to be a color correction, and even maybe Airon Armstrong could return as the character, assuming that Jude Courtney didn't want to come back. But very good performance. Like I said, it's a bit cheating. I know this is kind of like a picky list here, but I had to include him somehow. I just thought that he made a very good impact in the 10-15 minutes that he was in that movie. Very good role, and I'm very happy with this performance. So Airon Armstrong is at number 3. So the top 2 Michael Myers. We have, of course, Nick Castle from the original, and of course we also have Jude Courtney from the Halloween trilogy. I was very mixed on like which one was my favorite, because on any given day I could see like why I would choose Nick Castle over Jude Courtney and vice versa. But for right now, I'm gonna go ahead and pick my number 2 for Nick Castle. Now, I know that some people might, get pissed at me for saying this, but let me explain. Nick Castle, for all intents and purposes, embodies the character so well. He was the first one to do it. He plays the character very well. He has the walk, he has like that breathing sound effect, he has the look. It's very hard to outdo that performance. But I do think that, there are things that Jude Courtney did better that I'll get into later on. But for what he does a very good job at playing this character. He's intimidating. I love his look. I love what they did with him in that first movie. I think the utilization of Michael in the first film especially is very well done. I like how this is him at his most kind of like distant. He's always looking in the distance and always trying to kind of like spot his prey. And it makes him just so much more eerie than some of the other Michael Myers performances. I know that some people might be upset by this, but make no mistake, he's at number 2 for a reason. I think he does a very good job here. But we're going to go ahead and get into Jude Courtney, who is my number 1 pick. Jude Courtney, in my opinion, say what you will about the new trilogy, whether you love them, whether you hate them, whether you're mixed on them, he plays Michael Myers, in my opinion, the best of all the Michael Myers actors. The look for him is fantastic. The masks, they actually got the masks right. And not only are they consistent between each film, but they evolve across each film. In Kills, you have the burnt look. In The Ends, you have the moldy burnt look. But Kills, not only is it thematically appropriate because obviously, it's burnt, but it adds to it because it showcases just how evil and how angry that Michael is in Halloween Kills. And I think that is just a fantastic look for him. They managed to strike that perfect balance where like he's not a pushover, but at the same time, he's not a hulking monster like he was in Tyler Mane. He's not like Jason Voorhees. He strikes that very perfect balance for me. I think that his look is fantastic. I think his mannerisms are fantastic. In my opinion, this is about as perfect of a Michael Myers as I can personally get. I like the look, and I love the performance, and I can't say much more. I think Jude Courtney, in my opinion, like I said, despite what you might think about the films as a whole, and sure, some people might even argue that Michael Myers was not present throughout Ends that much to begin with, which is why it might bring it down for some people. That's totally fine. But the utilization of his character in all 3 films, in terms of looks and performance and what they did with him, it's just so good. I love it. Well guys, that was my entire ranking of all the Michael Myers actors and performances for the most part, at least the ones I bothered to mention in this video. What do you guys think about them? Are there ones that you guys disagree with? Are there ones that you love? Are there ones that I didn't mention that maybe you guys would like to add to your own list? I'd love to know what you think. I've enjoyed going through this franchise for one reason or the other, and sure there were some movies that were tough to get to, but the amount of support that you guys have given me on this franchise and the just videos that I've made in general has been absolutely mind-blowing. As it stands right now, the franchise video has just over 3,000 views, and that means a lot to me. So to anyone and everyone who's watched it, just thank you so much. That truly, truly made my October so much better. It made it much more special, and it was a blast to go through, and I can't wait to do more franchise reviews at some point in the future. With all that said, guys, this has been ThatGuyMatt, and I hope you guys all have a very happy Halloween. And until next time, I hope you all take care.